bed, and we put that in the bedroom. It used to have two dogs that was over there, but now we're down to one dog. And so I got this new dog bed, and I took the old one and I put it over next to me. Well, this dog will follow me everywhere. Like, she won't get up until I get up, the whole 9 yards, And so we're telling her to go lay down, and she was telling her to go lay down on the new bed, and she just kind of like looked at her and was like, "Fuck you!" Ran off in here. Is like, "Nope, I'm over here." So now she's over here, and then she'll get up and she'll start shaking, and then we'll hear like the dog collar being shook around and everything. And that's my story of this dog. She's the ultimate Bia. So what's going on, everyone? You said it reminds you of a story.
Yeah, my grandma's dog. Well, my grandma's dog had a shit ton of attitude to her. Like, my granddad would tell her to go lay down, and we called her Champagne the dog. And she would literally just turn around and stick her ass out of my granddad. It was amazing.
There are those dogs that they're just like like, fuck you, I'm not going to listen to you. Like, my dogs are like that. They will not listen to anybody else if I'm around, but if I'm around, they'll listen to me. I guess it's, in a way, I guess it's flattering, alpha male, alpha dog, whatever you want to call it for them. But so what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Playback Gaming Podcast, as we like to talk a lot of nonsense and pretend like we know what we're talking about. Don't tell us otherwise we'll slit your... Never mind, you can't say that live. What's going on, everybody? How you been, Duke? What you been up to? What you been gaming on?
I'm kind of sad you stole my murder bit. I mean, I've been working really hard on this persona. You just toss out cat violence.
Look, if Amy Schumer can take other people's jokes, I can too.
Even Amy Schumer didn't. Yeah, Amy Schumer.
Whatever. Schumer.
She didn't even do that right. I mean, Carlos Mencia was doing it before her, so she even stole that bit. I'm doing all right. How are you?
I've been good. What you been gaming on? What you been playing? What has the world of Duke been encompassed in?
I've actually been kind of bouncing around between things. World of Warcraft, of course, but only for a few hours at a time. For Honor, which came for Games for Gold for Xbox, I've been playing a little bit of that. Actually had a campaign that I was not aware of, so that's kind of interesting. Pretty brutal, cutting people's heads off and whatnot. Multiplayer's pretty still interesting since they moved to the dedicated servers, because I remember when I first started it, I think it was kind of a peer-to-peer thing, and that was definitely more of the whoever has a better connection wins.
Yeah, they
still definitely
over to dedicated
servers. Yeah, but there's still kind of that higher level, lower level of like people who've been playing this whole time, and the annual noob harvest as a bunch of players like me show up. So that's been pretty interesting. Also got into like the last week of cursed sales for Sea of Thieves. Using that Game Pass. That was interesting.
How are you liking it? How are you liking the Cursed Sales? I have yet to play it. I didn't play the last DLC bit that they had, so I kind of missed out on all of that fun stuff. But how are you liking the Cursed Sales?
I'll say it this way. Me and two other mates were on a ship, and we're fighting skeleton pirates, and we sank their ship, and there was much rejoicing. And as we made our way over towards where their ship sank to maybe look for treasure, another skeleton pirate ship rose from the depths, and so with only 6 cannonballs we made ready to do combat, and then another skeleton pirate ship popped up on the other side of us, and we were afraid ever so much as we didn't have the ammunition to fight both of them. So as we were navigating our way out of that situation, the Megalodon showed up and attacked the other pirate ship, and there was much rejoicing. So we're like, okay, we could do this. And then the Megalodon turned on us. And then that's when we realized the enemy of my enemy is still my enemy's enemy. And then we died.
So that sounds pretty gruesome.
It was really interesting. We suicide bombed.
I have to ask, how is the AI mechanics of the enemy ships and their skeleton crews?
We took 80 cannonballs, and it took 65 of them to down an opposing ship with a fairly well-working crew, mostly because...
So it wasn't bad aim. It wasn't bad aim.
No,
correct?
no. It was,
Sounds
for
like
the
that.
most part of it, it was
65,
just,
65
hey,
cannonballs.
hey, they're undead.
Look, I'm being judgmental right now,
They
all right?
can work underwater. Okay, that's horseshit of the highest quality.
This has been Diz all day. Don't feel bad.
This has been me all day. You don't even want to know the arguments from earlier.
Oh damn day. Oh goddamn day.
But that's me. I have to. I have to be that guy. I got to keep people on their toes.
But yeah, it was enjoyable. It's definitely a lot better of an experience when you have some friends with you versus solo. I don't think I really enjoy it solo, but I definitely enjoy it with friends.
Also, I think that it definitely is one of those games that you can definitely play a little bit more lax versus a lot of other games. It has its intense moments, but overall, it seems like something you could just chill and play. Kind of like No Man's Sky, I guess.
Yeah,
which
but
I'm not
that's
playing
about it.
anymore.
Yeah.
What about you? What about you, Zero? How you been? What you been up to? What you been gaming on?
Mostly recently I've been playing Metal Gear Revengeance and a lot of Destiny. Getting ready for the first DLC next week.
That's actually a good question. So, dude, are you going to be
for-
picking up the? Are you going to be picking up the DLC?
For Destiny 2?
Yeah.
The game that is dead to me?
Yeah.
Oh, he put it in the coffin. Morty buried it
just
6 feet down.
It didn't even deserve a burial with honors. It was just like tossed into a pile.
Oh, the black
where
place.
it belongs.
No, I was curious though. What
Was
did
it-
ask Duke? You said you started playing For Honor. What faction are you in?
Oh,
Out of curiosity.
currently, actually, which faction do you think I went with?
I would say Vikings.
I have a Viking theme.
Close. I went with samurais because I'm Asian.
Hey, you're with me.
Yeah.
All right.
Weeaboo squad.
Right? That's the only way to go.
I just enjoy the playstyle of Kenshin really well, so that's who I roll with.
Ah, fair enough. It was actually good got into it now then because he got a lot of buffs. He used to be just really, 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 really bad in the early days.
Yeah, that's why I heard that, and people who'd play the assassin hybrid would just run after their team would lose, and then that would be the whole match. As they would just be running around the map.
The bad people who play assassins run away. Those are bad players.
Yes.
So, For Honor,
If you're an assassin, you can stay alive.
that's available for free to play right now.
Right now, currently, if
For
you're
download?
a gold member, you can play that for free. Actually,
Nice.
last weekend, Steam was doing it for free as well.
Nice. What was it that I know that didn't Ubisoft give it away for free as well, or was that something else for PC during E3? I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was part of their Steam sale type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, no, I've been right there with you, Zeros. I've been playing Destiny 2. I've actually been playing also during my free time Okami HD. I was always interested in it just because I hate games that have a really unique art style because it makes me want to play them even after starting to play them. It's just like it's kind of boring. This one was I don't want to say that this one is boring, but it did take me like 47 minutes to get through the first intro part, and I didn't want to skip it because I'm like, if I skip this, I might lose something, and later on, I won't have the context that I need in order to understand what is going on. So I mean, part of it, I think that at the time I was listening to the ILP because this was on Sunday, and so I kept pressing pause, periodically, so that I wouldn't lose my spot and I could pay attention to the podcast. So it was kind of like going a little bit back and forth. So I've actually been playing that a little bit. I did actually turn on, and you'll be happy to hear this, I did turn on Darksiders. I downloaded Darksiders 2, pretty much a whole bunch of games out of the Game Pass. I'm like, I need to get a little bit of this gamer score and see what everybody's playing because I see what my what my kind of gamer is. And actually, I took to Twitter about this not too long ago, where I see a lot of people that they're taking things like, oh, well, look at this person. They don't have like, a lot of trophies, or they don't have like a lot of achievements. This is actually somebody, it was a debate that was going on over the weekend with the whole all access thing. And somebody tried to call out a compadre of ours, King David over at the IOP, and tried to use like his PSN account, looking at things like trophies and completion rates. And I started thinking, like, well, why is somebody using something like that? Because sometimes you may pick up a game and you might dabble in it, but you realize, you know what, I just don't like this game. But it doesn't make that individual any less of a gamer. And anybody who knows David, King David, he's a one hell of a gamer. He's very passionate about it.
All I know
Very
is
busy
I did
man
not
too.
vote for him to be my king. I would like that to be on the record. We are a collective oligarchy. We have biannual elections, but continue, yes.
But anyway, so I started thinking about like, why people would use something like that. And I was like, man, and I've been talking about, before I was talking about my gamer scores, like I've had my Xbox Live account for roughly 10 years, maybe just a little bit over 10 years. And my gamer score, like I'm still under 50,000. I think that I'm just around that 50,000 mark, or I just got over it, somewhere around that mark. And I see a lot of other individuals who, a lot of people look at it like, oh man, he doesn't play games for shit.
That's not true.
But I look at it, but I'm like, well, why is it that I don't have the score? But I also have to recognize that I'm the kind of gamer that I like to be immersed into a world. So I like to play those games where you get that immersion effect. I literally have over a year worth of hours. Not like, like exaggerating. I have literally over a year worth of hours invested into art.
I was going to say, if you took your arc time and spread it over your next 2 games, I'm pretty sure you could like at least 1,000% of them.
Yeah, and if you think about like a lot of other games that are open world like that, I imagine that there are people like that in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I got like
probably several years.
Yeah, into my second set of mains.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, what's my second game that I would have? And of course, that would be Destiny 2, or actually, I guess it would be Destiny. I haven't looked at my I haven't looked at my Destiny hours in a while. But Destiny 2, I looked at that and I was like 17 days. So like, wow, I felt like trash at that point. I was like, man, I feel like I'm on Destiny 2 all the time now, and I only got like 17 days worth. And I know that part of it is because I'm comparing it to my ARC hours, but I do a lot less standing around in Destiny 2 because I'll just log out. Whereas in ARC, I might have my character standing around for hours on end, like looking at an egg, because I'm like, at any point this thing is going to hatch. It's just one of those things I was kind of like looking at. So I downloaded several games out of the Game Pass. I was like, let's try to get some gamer score, which I don't know why I did that, because I know next month I'm just going to be playing Destiny 2 because Forsaken, maybe dabble with a couple of the games here and there. Once October hits, I already plan. I want to do a whole run through of all the Resident Evils. I've been wanting to do this in October to see how far I can get, which I'll probably get maybe through 2 of them because it'll take me forever to get through those with my work schedule and everything. And then at the end of the month, Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out. So I'm like, I downloaded all these games with this big old plan. I'm just like, I need to be a realist. I'm probably not going to truck through these like I think I will, but they're there. So I'll probably dabble with them here and there and everything. But yeah, despite, I told you that I wasn't going to do Darksiders 2, that I would do, like, I think I said Metro first. I actually, I was like, fuck it. Let's turn it on. Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, no, I played Darksiders 3, man. It's a really good story for both games, especially if you like the old school kind of Zelda-like kind of games.
Mm-hmm.
Darksiders is very reminiscent of that.
Really then they got the third one is coming out around the corner, so it wouldn't be a bad time to try to pick up one of these, see if it's something I might be interested down the line. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'll try to keep you updated on my progress, if there's any. I like how I said that. If there's any. So now that we have a little bit of that, there was an event that did occur over the weekend, and it's something that I don't really. And I actually, talked with the gents about this earlier. I don't want to really go and talk about this subject because I don't want to shed light onto anybody who thinks that doing atrocities like these is going to gain you some sort of infamy. Even though I don't think that in this retrospective that that's what the goal was. I think that this was an incident that was done out of pure anger. And I do think that there is a time and a place to actually discuss things like these that do happen. And just right now, I don't think is the time. However, due in light of the events that happened in Jacksonville, I thought that it was appropriate that we, give the two victims and that did tragically lose their lives at the Madden tournament, as well as the other individuals who were shot, give them a moment of silence. So if we could go ahead and do that, I definitely want to observe that, and then we'll definitely move on from here, okay?
Yeah, sounds reasonable.
All right, I thank you all, very much for that. Like I said, we don't want to dabble on that. So essentially today we do want to talk about some things that are going on in the industry. And this actually, it kind of kicks back a little bit what I was talking about, that there was a lot of ruckus that was going on over the weekend. So there was a rumor about this all access where you would get a monthly payment for 2 years. You would get an Xbox, so either a 1S or an X. You would get 2 years of Xbox Gold, and you would also get 2 years of the Pass, which sounds like to me that just that alone it sells itself to me. But apparently that is not consumer friendly to a lot of individuals out there, which kind of it puts on that stake is. Do we need to look at something like this? Is this something that is consumer friendly? Because that's what the debate is. On one side, you see, hey, well, somebody who wouldn't be able to afford this normally, buy this outright or would have to take a lot of time. And maybe by the time that they get to it, we're already moving on to the next best thing. It may give them an opportunity, or maybe, that family that, doesn't have the funds to be able to kick around for a big payment, but maybe in this kind of spectrum, for Christmas for the little one, maybe get something like that. Or is it on the other end where we're seeing on the other argument is, well, if you can't afford it in the first place, then gaming shouldn't be part of your priority. I felt like seeing a lot of this stuff, there was a big disconnect between the two. And I kind of wanted to get what y'all's thoughts were in regards towards this. And it looks like that there's also other things, because this isn't the only thing that, is kind of causing a little bit of a ruckus. Amazon also has a thing going on with Twitch right now. And so I just kind of wanted to get y'all's thoughts on the all access. Do you think that this is something that's consumer friendly? Is it something that we should be worrying about? Or is this something that you think that this is predatory towards younger individuals who are, have no idea what to do, and when it comes towards something like what I've been heard thrown around with their credit?
Zero, do you have a positive or a negative take on this?
I would have an overall positive outtake on it.
Yeah, see, I think I'd have a positive as well, but I would also kind of want us to be fair and balanced. To pose the negative argument, I think I'll make a very small argument for positive, and then I can probably think of a negative in the moment. I see it as a net positive for a couple of reasons. One, it does lower the barrier to entry. So the prime thing is, if you come from a lower income family or even a middle income family, or, just the financially mobile family where, you don't have a solid consistent pay or anything like that. I feel like this is a great way for you to get on to or into the the gaming sphere of things with a modern console, because $35 a month, while to some is not a whole lot of money at all, to others is a whole lot of money. But if it's a whole lot of money to some people, $500 down for like an Xbox One X, that's just insurmountable. If $35 is a crazy sum too, so while it might be a little bit harder on a month-to-month basis to do that, it's still a lot more reasonable with it for this program. So you have to go to a Microsoft store, so you can't just get it like offline. You go to a Microsoft store, you have to apply for a credit backed by a bank, so it's not Microsoft directly, it's through a lending partner. Apply for credit, they give you a no interest loan for the 2 years. You make the payments, at the end of it, it's yours. So think of it like a cell phone that you're purchasing. So I could see this as being a way of allowing like a kid, if you have like a teenager or something like that, this is a good month-to-month budgeting thing. Like, hey, do chores, do this stuff, I make your payment, and you keep your Xbox thing. After 2 years, it's yours. That's a great way to teach kids financial responsibility without them having to with like something tangible that they could want versus an allowance by itself. So I feel like those are positives, because I might be doing this because I don't want to drop $500 for an Xbox One X. This way, this is $35 a month. I can fit that into my normal monthly pay scale, and it is what it is. So those are positives I can see. Zero, your opinion?
Honestly, I agree with everything you said. As far as the people saying that if you can't just dump 500 on a system out the gate, then gaming shouldn't be your priority. I get where mindset of that may be coming from, but I don't agree with that statement. Because the thing is,
it's an opinion, but it's a wrong opinion.
Kind of. Because the thing is, you're gonna have families who have kids who are working and they just can't afford to drop 500 on a plastic box in one day. They just can't do that. And maybe this is an option for them that makes more sense, is more financially viable for them. And like you said, it's a good way to help younger people maybe even learn how to manage this kind of thing. Now, I can kind of understand people's apprehension about it, but I honestly feel like the goods outweigh the bad in this situation, personally.
Like at this point, go ahead.
I was about to say, is like I think that it does have like a lot of advantages with it. I definitely get the concern where somebody was saying like, this is an opportunity that somebody could ruin their credit, because there will be somebody who may try to take advantage of a situation. Of course, they have to be approved for something. But the thing is, it's, they're tuning this and they're saying that it is 0% APR, which means it's not going to change in any kind of interest way. You're not paying anything predatory. And what I kind of feel that is ironic is you have something like this where you have that 0% APR, yet if you look, if I'm not mistaken, Sony does have a credit card for PlayStation that actually has a pretty steep fee. If I'm not mistaken, it's very similar to GameStop's in-store or in-house credit card. They can cause issues as far as whenever you're looking and comparing towards other credit cards, which in my mind is a little bit more predatory than a situation like this. I think I agree 100%. I think that it is a nice incentive. Maybe in lieu of something like, allowances, you get this for the week, etc. You get this so that you don't actually have to shell out any cash. Whatever it is that you do in your own household is what you do in your own household. I think that that's how like everybody should be viewing this. I think it's a great way to segue people into gaming, even if it is through the console market. There are a lot worse things that are going on in the industry right now. To look at something like this, which seems to be beneficial. What I was actually comparing, or actually on Twitter, and there's been a lot of people that have used the same comparison, and of course the backlash is you can't compare this to something like a phone plan. It's like, well, why can't you? Because for a phone plan, you do have to qualify. For a phone plan, if you want a monthly payment for your phone for a nice phone, you can do the monthly payment. A cell phone is not necessary. It's not a necessity. Even if you need a phone, you can still get landlines. So it technically is not a necessity. Plus, there's a variance of ways to get it, just like gaming. There is a variance of ways in gaming to actually access gaming. Okay, so not only do you have to qualify for both, you'll pay for the product for both on a monthly service fee. Neither one of them have the APR. I do apologize. Bear with me one moment.
Just to kind of pick up what Diz was saying, like, again, it's if you can justify places like Rent-A-Center or any of these other places that do that rent-to-own concept, this is a place that has zero APR and things like that. I honestly feel like this is, if they get enough push with this, like this is going to be a viable method for the Scarlet or whatever the hell they call it in 2 years for their new console.
Right.
Is if they can get that, because again, in the console wars, the biggest problem has always been, why am I going to shell out $600 for a machine that I'm going to replace in 4 years? Well, that's true. If I only have to pay $30 for the brand new hype machine for that 2 years, it's kind of like leasing a car. You keep it, and then it's yours at the end of it. Yeah, so it's like leasing a car with an option to buy.
And no, I agree with you. And another thing is the people who are concerned about folks getting their credit ruined or something like that. It's nice to think that way and have that concern, but you just can't protect everybody from everything.
And you can't make a market decision concept off of, well, people might abuse it, because good Lord, what would the world be like if you consistently just put, well, people can abuse it this way? Well, I guess we just can't take this to market then. So I guess cars are going back into the shed because, people die in those consistently. It's just, I don't know. People are afraid of things that may be new as a concept for a delivery model. So, so how do you feel about the Amazon Twitch thing?
I haven't heard much about that, so you're gonna have to fill me in on that.
Basically, like some of the perks that they're getting rid of for Twitch streaming is like if you had Amazon Prime, you had Twitch Prime, which like had the ad-free experience for watching stuff on Twitch. So they got rid of that. So like a lot of, I guess, streamers and whatnot kind of had protests where they opted out of ad revenue by just not playing ads for their streams, making them free streams. And so I guess a lot of people are just kind of upset about that. I have Amazon Prime and I have Twitch, but I use Twitch because they acquired Curse, Mod Manager. So I've never actually sat down and watched really anything on Twitch myself. So I'm really probably not the best one to talk about this as well. I think it was Diz, but he is handling technical difficulties at this time. I believe gremlins have got into his his network, and so he's currently fighting through that system. And we wish him the best of luck.
Well, while he's doing that, give us your thoughts on Battlefield 5.
Okay,
we can throw it in.
Well, because we did have that conversation. So me and Zero, on the off time as we were working through aggression and whatnot, we came onto a discussion about Battlefield 5, and of course, like there's a lot of controversy about it at this time, with women and historical data and inclusiveness versus a developer tells its fans to go F themselves in much nicer terms. One of the things that kind of came up was, well, one, the open beta as well as the pre-order beta is next week. So if you pre-ordered Battlefield 5, you can play early on the 6th with early downloads on the 3rd. If you did not, they have an open beta that will be for the Labor Day weekend, starting on that Friday, and then you'll be able to play through that the 8th, I believe, all the way through. So if you're wanting to see what the Battlefield 5 experience is supposed to be, that should be available to you. As to Battlefield 5 itself, because we were talking about that, and I think it comes down to the question of, is too much customization a problem for this shooter? And I say no. I think the ability to customize my person to look like whatever it is whatever it is. Because truthfully, like we're playing through periods of time that are, if we're wanting to look at it for the historical context, I don't think there's really any console shooter besides like maybe Verdun or Insurgency that approach warfare from the standpoint it needs to be approached from. So like things for like Battlefield or Call of Duty or anything like that, like we can dejectively look at it as this is not historical or or realistic in any way, shape, or form. It just kind of gets real close, but still arcadey. So that's why the it has to be historical argument has always rung hollow for Battlefield 5 for me, and really all the Battlefields. Because like hell, Battlefield 1, one of the big sellers was like tanks and biplane combat, which never occurred, or giant zeppelins with guns on them and stuff like that never occurred, or 95% of the weapons that are used never were used in their combat format. Literally, if you wanted to play World War One, the game, you sit in a hole in mud, and then every 10 minutes or so, you just randomly die from either disease or an artillery shell, and that's World War One.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. Yeah.
So, like, that's why I think everyone kind of getting upset about women in the trailer, because the trailer itself, I guess, like again, it comes down to a woman with a bionic arm, or was that it's not realistic. It's like that looked like just the multiplayer trailer. So like this is just what you'd customize. Like there's no story elements that have been described to anyone yet in terms of anything. So it's not like you have to play as a woman. You don't have to. You could just play as your 6'1" Aryan white guy if you wanted to be that guy, or your man of color if you wanted to be a man of color, or I would be playing like a 5'5" Korean guy because that'd be funny. On D-Day.
That would.
Yeah.
I can understand people's apprehension about it to a point, but my thing is, if that is indeed more geared towards the multiplayer and it's just customization options, then I don't really see the point to make it such a big deal.
Yeah, and that's where I approach it from the get-go. Because again, because they said like when they released that trailer, they wanted to show everything they were going to do in multiplayer in one go, and I feel like they just didn't have the right editor being like, people are going to be really confused by this because it is a whole lot. You have to watch that trailer like 3 or 4 times after watching how they do the gameplay trailers to be like, oh wait, so yeah, that's mobile weaponry, and oh yeah, this is the grand operation because it's a consistently moving battlefield as objectives are being taken. Or, oh yeah, there's a dedicated air campaign. Or, oh yeah, there's like all these different things. Like, why does that guy have a mohawk and blue face paint? That's not realistic. And it's like, yeah, because that's a customizable option. People don't do that.
Right.
Well, Screaming Eagles kind of did with the mohawk thing, but that was just weird. Anyways.
So do you think that this
not only was there a lot...
Oh, go ahead.
Do you think
the game's going to sell well?
I think if people give the beta an honest chance, like with everything, I think if you're going to play Battlefield 5, you're going to buy Battlefield 5 with it, or you're not. I also don't believe in like really pre-ordering anything, but that I'm also going to be a hypocrite here in a little bit once we talk about another subject. So,
fair enough. I don't know. I'm kind of. I want it to do okay because you never want a game to really fail unless they just do something egregiously wrong.
Just me.
And hey, but my thing is, we see the results. Well, not the results, but the signs of like where the pre-orders and stuff are at compared to other games. And Sutherland left, and I don't really see that as being just a random coincidence. So, I don't know. I feel like it has a really big uphill battle to do well.
You don't think?
But it is.
I guess the way that I see it is, I think that the people who are going to play Battlefield, the people who enjoy Battlefield, they're going to give in. It's going to be the same thing with the same people who do the same thing with Call of Duty year in and year out, where, oh, I'm not going to get it this year, and then next thing you know, 2 weeks into the game, you see that same individual sucking it up, or as King David would point out, the fraud alert is put up on them because they'll end up playing it. If you enjoy Battlefield, you're very likely going to play this. Even the people who say that they're not going to, I just don't see them not doing it.
Hey, I bought Battlefront 2.
Hey.
$9. And you know what?
I
think it was worth...
I used to love COD, but I never went there.
Yeah. And that's kind of one of those things like Call of Duty. I remember like the first 2 Call of Duties. That stuff was legit. Like you played real kind of like stories from the world wars, and it's just like, man, these guys went through some real crazy stuff, like Operation Market Garden or stuff like that. Like, hold this bridge. Well, for how long? Well, you're going to die here, but you need to hold this bridge as long as possible because it's going to mess up the Germans. So I'm just here to die. Well, take as many of those Jerry bastards with you as you can, and that's it. Like that was a person's real story, and it's just like now it's like wall running laser sci-fi guy with zombies that are Nazis on the moon.
That sounds pretty realistic.
That's weird.
Yeah, and that's very historical context.
And if you want to take
the moon is where the Nazis went.
If you want to take that to a developer and everything, I'll make sure that I put my word in. Say I think that I would buy this.
Maybe battle royale zombies themselves
in cars with soccer balls,
and you're the chicken. I think we got something.
The chicken. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the whole game is
they've actually
for somebody to win.
There's actually this little indie. Well, I don't know if it's little, but there's an indie game. It's Sharks. That one's interesting.
I'm sorry. You kind of broke up on my side, Zero. What was that?
No, I was saying there's this battle royale.
Oh yeah,
battle royale game. It's an indie game. And you're all sharks.
Oh, neat. I
Cool.
want to play a shark. Wait, am I a shark with a gun, or am I just a shark?
Is that kind of like that? Is that kind of like the Isle where everybody runs around as a dinosaur and eats each other? I think it's called the Isle.
Well, dinosaur. The Isle is more of a. I wouldn't call
what's the one?
the Isle
What's
a
the one?
royale game
What's the one where people go in as a dinosaur and they go and just eat each other? What's that one called?
And they can do what?
There's a dinosaur game where you play as another dinosaur, and we're not talking about Primal Rage either.
I was gonna say Jurassic Park, the game.
That would make too much sense.
No,
that would be too obvious. I digress.
Sometimes the best jokes are the obvious jokes.
Absolutely, they definitely can be. So where were we? Okay, so I know that we y'all discussed a little bit of the Amazon issue. So is that too big of an issue for you guys? Like that they will be playing ads even though you're paying for a service?
Yeah, I personally never use it, so it does not bother me.
I don't use either one. The only time I have Amazon Prime, but the only time I watch it is to watch the Grand Tour. But that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't pay for it myself, so I don't know how it would affect me because I'm going to see the ads regardless. But I guess in a very similar comparison, I know that there was a rumor with Netflix where they would be showing ads. I believe it was Frodo actually told me that there actually are ads. The only thing I've seen on Netflix were maybe at the end of a season they might advertise one of their own shows.
Yeah,
but I think I'm okay with that because that's still an in-house product, and they just want to try to get their shows out there. I'm okay with that.
Well, that's even the new ads. The new ads are just the same. It's the same concept. They're just pushing their own shows that they think that you would like based on their algorithm.
So that's all. It's all in-house stuff with Amazon. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Well, the Netflix thing. I don't know about the Amazon thing. I know Netflix is just pushing more shows at the end of their stuff as like one of the big kerfluffles.
Okay, so I thought it was a little bit more like the Xbox when all of a sudden ads just started appearing even though you were paying for gold.
Yeah. Or Hulu.
Or Hulu, yes. Hulu as well, yeah. So, okay, I mean, for me, it doesn't, I guess in that kind of respect, it doesn't really bother me. I didn't realize it was an in-house. I'm glad that you brought that up.
Again, someone correct me if I am incorrect. I don't even know how many people watch this thing. Are you actually even recording this most of the time? I feel like you just get us together and then you just like listen to these things as you go to sleep and some sort of
it helps me.
Andy Kaufman.
This whole thing is one big troll.
It is.
These idiots show up.
Just gets us in a room to babble.
Look at this experiment, y'all.
Look what I can get them to do.
Dance.
So Gamescom Or as I like to refer to it as the leftover meal from E3, where you just taste the same thing that you had at E3, and you decide if you like it or not. And sometimes it leaves a worse taste in your mouth. Yeah, I am.
I'm rude.
Yeah.
I guess I am, because at this point, I'm on the side of the fence where I don't believe that Gamescom is relevant anymore. Like, I get that people want to go and have that fun experience, but there are no reveals that have been happening in the last couple of Gamescoms that have been like, man, this is E3 level. At the beginning of this 8th generation, I remember people were tuning in, they were dialed in for the first few years, but it has since just drastically decreased it. I'm not interested in Gamescom anymore.
You know, I thought I was going to be really harsh by making a Thanksgiving reference of like Gamescom is like day 3 turkey sandwiches. Like, yeah, it's okay when it was fresh, but now it's just like, I'm tired of turkey.
Pretty much.
Before we went live, Duke pointed out that Jump Force is going to get regular characters. That's some graphic stuff.
Yeah, I heard. Was it customizable? Is that correct?
Yeah, you get to make your own dude.
Yeah.
How do y'all feel about that? Mm-hmm. I know that at least Zero over here is extremely interested in it. What about you, Duke? Are you interested in this game as well?
Well, I am Team Weeaboo in For Honor.
Okay. So how do y'all like that? Yeah, right. How do you like that addition where you can have your customizable characters in the Jump Force? I did hear about this.
I do feel like we're gonna have a lot of like just mimics of like Goku Naruto with like more exclamation points and maybe a couple X's in that name. So that should be interesting.
You're gonna have people with like Goku's hair, the Super Saiyan hair, but Naruto's face with Luffy's torso. It's gonna look weird.
But then they have like Ryuk from Death Note's like gait and apple fetish. Oh, so it's gonna be weird.
Well, my thing is, how do you fight? Do you get to pick your powers and stuff? Did they even go
through that? I would think it would probably be like with the Budokais or anything like that, where you can switch out like key movements. So it's like, you know, this button's mapped to this combo and this buttons are matched to that combo, so then you can kind of flip around. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Fighting games have definitely changed a bit since my day.
Probably the same way like the WWE games, where you just pretty much you take other moves and maybe you just put it together, slap it all together. I would suppose.
The last wrestling game that I played featured The Undertaker, Doink the Clown, and Razorback.
So the 1990s, was it the 1990s arcade version? Is that what you're telling me?
The one on Sega, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I follow you.
See, my thing is, if it works like that, can you do like a Super Saiyan Rasengan? And if so, that's kind of broken.
All I know is if I can play One Punch Man or not. Because I feel like he's like the Chuck Norris of this world. So it's just like all his moves is just punch. And they all instant KO.
Yeah. We could go into that, but it's a whole other podcast.
We absolutely could. So
it's a whole other show.
Was there any other than a graphics card? Was it a graphics card that was announced?
Yeah, NVIDIA put out the new RTX 20, I believe. Let me double check that. Yeah, RTX 20 series. So these are like the big thing I think is the ray tracing, real-time ray tracing, because of the Turing microarchitecture. So this is definitely like better lighting, better reflection, shadow, just basically instead of like having depth maps or cube maps for when they're doing how physics replaces for light, it shoots rays out of it, and so it's supposed to make it more realistic and better looking without having that weird plastic look for like flesh. You know, like everything's super shiny. It's supposed to be more like how natural light occurs and how it hits different things like fabric and skin and grass will look appropriate versus shiny, not as shiny, and dirt.
Right, where it makes you blind so you don't realize how terrible it looks.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, so that was Gamescom in a nutshell. If you didn't see Gamescom, I would encourage you to go look at the latest E3 trailers and see everything that you missed at Gamescom, because that's essentially what you would have gotten. And the inside Xbox, like I was doing a live reaction with Kid Smooth. Shout out to Kid, and I'm pretty sure all of us were bored out of our mind. I kept hearing the other guys, they were saying that, oh, this one was better than last year, but it's still pretty terrible. I know that Gaming Addict, he tried to leave about 8-9 times during the whole segment. I kept seeing in the chat, like, yeah, I'm stepping away. Like, he would just leave for, minutes on end, and somebody would say something to him and he wasn't there. It's like that was the inside Xbox, which I'm sorry, that thing they need to put that on the shelf. They need to think about what they're doing with that show, revitalize it, get interesting individuals on there. Something. I don't know. I don't know the winning formula for that show, because all I've been seeing out of it, and this has come from a guy who's primarily Xbox. It's been L's. But moving on, because I don't want to talk about E3 anymore, because it was like, what, 3 months ago, or at least it feels that way. So there's another game that was mentioned a couple of times, consumer friendly and non-consumer friendly. Spyro. No, we're not talking about Spyro again, or your Spyro dinosaur fetish dragon, whatever it is.
Yes, Spyro's a dragon.
Yes, confirmed. Did we just assume?
I was just going to let him go.
Did we just? So,
Destiny
has Forsaken releasing on the 4th, and today they just dropped the 2.0, which, from my knowledge, everybody is still having a hard time trying to get in, because it is taking forever to actually install this thing. Essentially, if you can imagine, try to shove 1,000 people through one doorway. That's essentially what's going on right now. Luckily, I was able to get in. I know that there was a handful of others I saw were able to get in. All the new changes are taking place, the random rolls. And I have to yell at Zero over here, because I feel like that I was a little bit misled about the shaders. That we're going to actually be getting those in a different format, where you just pay Glimmer rather than actually have the shader. So, sir, with that, I say I despise your responses. Anyways,
no, you told me they were going to make shaders a permanent thing. That is what you told me, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
No, sir.
And what happened?
No,
nothing. What happened is you can delete them by 5 now.
Yeah, you could delete them by 5, and that's not what I was expecting. I was expecting to have a switch where I could just say, hey, right now I just want to turn this shader on. That wasn't the case, but at least that what I was led to believe that wouldn't be the case. Turns out it is the case. You just got to pay in Glimmer or whatever it is. Go back there and, I don't know, do something with the Glimmer and get your shader on. So the trailer dropped also for the launch trailer. How do you feel about the trailer? I'll let you go.
I watched it about 30, 40 times just because I wanted to analyze everything in it. And it looks, I am still cautious about it. I already have it pre-ordered. I'm going to play it. But with Destiny, they kind of have this habit of they can hype things up really well, but can they deliver? And that's still my concern. Everything looks good so far, though. I'm curious as to how you feel about it.
I like what they're doing. I really don't like that they have to go to the year re-up in order to get everything back on track, kind of like that they had to do with the Taken King. But I also had to kind of like look at the climate of all of the other games that are pretty much out right now. Division had to do the same thing. It took a whole year before they started getting the updates that were necessary to start fixing their game, with that. You look at something like No Man's Sky. It took a couple of years for that one to really take off and get it to the point where it needed to be at. You look at Elder Scrolls Online. When it launched, and actually there's a lot of MMOs that you can actually put in this category. When they launched, they're terrible, but you give it a little bit of time. If they get that, the TLC that it truly needs, they find a way to come back around. I hate that we have to kind of go through that because you get a lot of people that will jump in day one with their friends, and then by that year mark, you're probably at least cut in half on the amount of people that you're playing with. I actually have a shout out to Haywood. He was day one with Destiny 2 with me, and I cannot convince this man to turn the game on for the life of me. If I said,
"My name's not Haywood,"
you're a completely different
I like how you're talking about me like I'm not even in the room.
If only this were. So I could tell Haywood that, look, man, if you don't turn Destiny 2 on, something bad is going to happen, let's say, to your wife. He'd be like, she's got life insurance. That would be his response to me about this. So, and that kind of response, that kind of respect. I hate that we have to go do this with a lot of the games, but that's pretty much the climate that a lot of these are moving to. So, do I think that Destiny will get back on track? I think so. I think that they will be back on track.
Not to cut you off real quick, but to be fair, it's really, really, really fair to feel that way about Destiny in particular, because this is the second time they've had to do that within this same series.
Correct.
So it's completely fair to have that mindset.
Yeah, and I definitely get it, and that's why I said it kind of sucks because Bungie is talented. Like, as much crap as we want to give them, and we can talk about corporate greed and all of this, and I'm still saying that I really want to see what their attitude is towards being consumer friendly. A lot of this show is all about consumer friendliness, huh? I kind of want to see how they react whenever they aren't with somebody like Activision. Like, if they have somebody else published. Now, to say that they will or will not, that we don't know. Who knows? They may get purchased by somebody. We don't know at this point. But I'm curious of how they'll be around that. But we know that they are an accredited. They have the experience. They know what they're doing. They listen. They do take feedback. And that's actually very rare in a lot of developers' mindsets. Where, well, this is exactly how it's going to be. DICE, EA. Anyways, I'm throwing all the jabs that I can.
EA's doing fine.
They're doing fine, but you can see by their reaction, the way that they say back. But there are the developers out there. We'll take my favorite game, for instance. This gen is Ark. Oftentimes, the developers are very like, this is just how it's going to be, and you're going to have to deal with it. But there's also times where they'll, take a little bit of feedback, from the community. I kind of wish that they would have taken the feedback of fix the game rather than add the new stuff, do it in this order versus the way that you're doing it. But I digress, so I do feel that Bungie is going to get everything back on track. I'm actually excited for the DLC. The more that they kind of show about it, I'm intrigued by the lore and the story more so than I think that a lot of other people might be invested into it. I think that a lot of them, they're more about, playing with their friends, which is, to each their own. That's fine. I definitely get that. I like Halo for its story, more so than I do for its multiplayer, but there's people that play the multiplayer first. So I'm excited to see all of that. I kind of want to see the direction because I like what they're building here. It feels like it could be an open living world. We'll see if they can actually move it into that kind of space going forward. So, Duke, since you left us since day one on Destiny 2, how do you feel about
day
the
one?
trailer?
I left after a month and a half to 2 months into it because it just was not fun. Real solid gameplay. I just got bored with it.
I think most everybody did.
Fair.
Have you had a chance to check out the recent trailers or the vidocs or anything like that?
Nope. It really hasn't even kind of passed in front of me for most of anything. I some of it got spoiled for me, so I understand. I guess some of the big stuff for it, but yeah, I don't really feel a major call for
It
it.
doesn't tickle your fancy.
No, not really.
That's fair. That's fair. Absolutely. So I know that Zero and I we've been Whisper fanatics on the weekends. I don't know how many Whisper runs we have ran, successful and unsuccessful at times. But right now, that's the big thing that everybody's doing is on the weekend you have to get your Whisper. In which I think that between the two of us, so we got R2, and then we got two others. We got theirs with them.
Yeah.
So I think that right now that's been consisting of our Saturdays, where we should probably be, spending that elsewhere, like maybe Trials of the Nine. But we're getting our Whispers and helping others. So I like a lot of the things that they have going on, especially leading up into it. I hope that they can keep this momentum. I'm actually curious to see what happens between this year's release and next year's release. And also, not only just story-wise, but now's about the time that they're probably already starting to work on Destiny 3.
Right. That's another concern going to Forsaken too, because this has to do well, or else it's just going to be poorly received.
Oh yeah, definitely have to agree with you there. So with our final topic, there was another reveal that was done recently. As a matter of fact, it was done yesterday, and I know that there's somebody here that's super excited about this. So tell us, Duke, when are you going to start getting your mechanical implants?
I swear to God, if I had the ability to cut off my legs now and replace them with robotic ones, I would do it. Maybe not Gen 1s, maybe Gen 2s, but yeah, definitely would do it. No, so a developer that I've always enjoyed is CD Projekt Red. They made the Witcher series. It was what they're most notably known for. We kind of talked just a little bit a while back about like consumer friendly products and kind of just like how the market kind of dictates some of these things. CD Projekt Red has always been very consumer friendly in the sense that like they have the mantra of like you buy a game, you get everything with it. Like Witcher 3, the biggest thing is you bought a game, it came with everything. DLC, and they kept support for it for up to 2 years after its launch of just new content. And it was all yours because you purchased the $60 version. That's yours to have. And these were expansions that are longer than other AAA titled games that are coming out by themselves. So you got like 200 hours worth of gameplay for $60, and it was solid. Now, it has its own issues, but it was solid gameplay, solid storyline. It's an amazing single-player experience. So back in 2013, a lot of you whippersnappers weren't born yet. No, I'm kidding. They released a very short trailer showcasing Cyberpunk 2077, based off the Cyberpunk 2020 kind of series and world, a pen and paper RPG. And since then, they went super dark. Like, we didn't hear literally anything about it for 5 years until after Witcher 3, because they believed that they should work on one game at a time to give it all the attention it needed. So they did. And now Witcher 3 has been out. It's good to go. So they've been working on this. A couple months back, they did like a closed press conference type thing at, I think, E3. Showed a lot of videotape, but, it wasn't able to get out. Just a day or two ago, they released on Twitter for about 4 hours just a line of code on their Twitch channel, and then 48 minutes of gameplay. And this is just their first complete build. So, a lot of stuff is placeholder and UI and stuff. And the thing that makes me excited is not just the gameplay, it's the tech that's running behind it. Because if you don't know, CD Projekt Red is a Polish company. They actually received a grant from the Polish government in multi-platform computer architecture and rendering a complete city AI. So instead of just having scripted NPCs that are like, carry this jug, continue carrying this jug until cannot carry jug anymore, die, like Assassin's Creed crowds. This is an artificial intelligence that has a day-night cycle that will go out and do tasks because that's what it does. It's a person with a concept of a schedule, and it's going to go do that. And it fills the city with all these AIs that are all doing this thing, along with your non-linear scripted main campaign. You have a city that literally is doing its own thing regardless of you. Like, this, to me, if they can really pull this off, because that's kind of what they're stating that they're wanting to build, is a city where you aren't necessarily the hero, you're just a bigger peg than most existing in this city. Like, this could be a genre-defining concept, like Mario 64 was for the platform genre, or GoldenEye or Halo for the shooter on console genre. Like, if this can kick off correctly, we can change how we approach RPGs, where you're just the hero and an NPC village is like 5 guys and 2 of them have talking lines and 1 of them sends you on to the next thing. You can make veritable landscapes with people in it, and that's it. Like, we can create bigger worlds to be players in on a console, let alone on a PC.
So you're meaning like kind of like an ever shifting landscape that it can actually adjust on its own and things like that is essentially what you're saying?
Like, this thing could actually, if it hits the goals that they've been saying that it hits, and CD Projekt Red doesn't usually oversell their stuff, they're pretty humble about most of their things. If this hits these goalposts, like, this is like people who mod Skyrim type stuff. Like, this is making games that these modding circles talk about that they want to make. That you want to make a game where you can dive, and it's all in first person. So, like, the concept of running this game in a VR headset is what fit in with the theme of it by itself is super exciting.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely agree with you there. I actually said this on Twitter, and I think that I'll say it again, and I'll continue to state it. I do agree with you with CD Projekt Red. I believed at them, and I believed at Rockstar Games. As a development team, I believe that those 2 developers are in a league of their own. I know that a lot of people, they compare, like, something like the Sony studios versus the Microsoft studios and the Nintendo. When we're looking at, just a complete overall of the gaming, you look at the quality and all of the little minute details and the honesty that comes from the developers at the same time. I stand by my statement. I feel that Rockstar and I feel that CD Projekt Red, they are in a league of their own. You're not going to find developers that are going to be able to put out the quality product that they do and not lie to you about it in the process. Whether you like the games or not, it's just what it is. Seeing the trailer, the gameplay reveal, I thought it was fantastic. I was like, okay, it's going to be from CD Projekt Red. We'll see what it is. I picked up The Witcher, haven't played it, beaten it, or anything like that. It's one of those rainy day things. I know that there's been a lot of hype around Cyberpunk 2077. I just wanted to see, well, what's it going to be like? After seeing it, there's games that look very similar in aspect to it. Like, this kind of looks like a lot of the games that get put out by Bethesda, for instance. I really wasn't interested in a lot of those. Cyberpunk actually has me interested. Yeah, I was actually pretty taken away with everything that they had on there. So, what about you, Zero? Did you get to check the gameplay out?
I have. It's just the game itself has never really spoken to me. Personally, although I'm never really a huge fan of CD Projekt Red's work. Not that it's bad. I know it's not bad. It's never really called to me. If that makes sense. From what I've seen, though, it does look really good. Like I've said on our previous cast we've done, it looks really good, especially for people who enjoy that kind of game. And if they do pull off this kind of technology, then hell, more power to them. I mean, it's a great thing that people are forging something new, and I'm always down for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest, I feel like that it's one of the few games this generation that actually truly define one of the next-gen games. feel that there's a lot of them that have been out here that are so cookie cutter. I like seeing pushing in innovation like this. Like I felt like Titanfall that pushed shooters. They tried to duplicate that with Call of Duty. They just couldn't do it. They couldn't get it right. I feel like Destiny did. As much as people might disagree with it, I feel like that they did push the shooter genre as well. I actually, and this is a true story because earlier, so my history comes from with the whole LNA movement comes from playing Halo. Anybody who Duke will know this. We used to play LAN parties together. Halo way back in the day, and all the way to current day, played Halo 5, played all of them. I've beaten all of them. Love the games. But I've been playing Destiny. I've been playing Titanfall, games like that, shooters like that. And today, knowing that the patch was coming out on Destiny, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to give Halo a spin. Let's go ahead and do that. I found myself doing multiple things that I would find myself doing in Destiny or in Titanfall to get away from my opponents, and I couldn't do it. It felt so clunky. And I'm hoping that this is something that CD Projekt Red might be able to take what they're doing and they kind of push it, because I see this as a genre-defining game. I think Destiny is another one. I just mentioned Titanfall. There's a handful more. We could probably go down the list of ones that actually are pushing for next gen. But I think that I'll even say, go as far to say that I think Grand Theft Auto 5, even though it did release on the last gen, it released pretty late. But everything that they've been able to accomplish with that, it's hard to deny that it is for this current gen, defined as a next gen game. So what else? What else can we talk about on that one for you, Mr. Duke? What did you think of the gameplay trailer altogether? What was your defining moment of that thing?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff because again, it has a lot of homage to the original pen and paper. I liked how everything was in first person because it definitely helps the immersion in the sense that, like, again, I understand that I'm not playing the game, but I really kind of got the sense that I was when I was watching this because it was just so kind of tight. And again, this is just like a primary build for showcasing. It's not even like glitzed up. It's just the ability to kind of do a lot of different combat variants or different ways of handling a situation, like a pen and paper RPG. Is always a preferred thing. Like, not everyone wants to go in guns blazing. Some people like to talk their way out of problems. Some people like to sneak. Some people like to use an overwhelming amount of information to build like the best battle plan. And then some people like to double shotgun a guy in the face. Like, I like games that give me that type of option, without hamstringing me if I choose a lesser taken option. So just that concept.
Right. That's right.
I also like, I like the cyberpunk as a genre, future punk or any of that type of stuff, like neon lights, dark city, grunge, vaporwave, whatever that motif you want to call it. Like it speaks to me on a certain degree as an aesthetic. So I'm just super stoked about it. CD Projekt Red takes their time with their games. They don't believe in releasing an inferior product if they can help it. So patience, and I'll just wait for it when it pops.
20 years from now.
And I will wait.
Fair enough.
Right on. So, I believe, do we have anything else left on the plate that anybody wants to discuss before we're out of here?
I'm good, I think.
Yeah, I can't really think of too terribly much.
Right on. Well, I do. I definitely appreciate everybody who has been tuning in and checking us out. This one was kind of like strung together. We actually had a lot of topics that we were going to discuss, but everything that's been going on, other things we had to switch up last moment. Me, Diz, always unprepared. Like, even when I am prepared, I'm unprepared. I'll give these guys a whole list of like, hey, we're going to talk about this and never bring those subjects up.
I mean,
we're going to talk about the alphabet.
Yeah.
Never mind. We'll talk about numbers.
That sounds about right. Absolutely. Well, so let's go ahead and do our outros. So, Zero, where can the fine folks find you at?
You can find me on Xbox Live and Twitter at Lord0ILP. Other than that, on here. I don't really do much social media stuff, so I'm working.
And Duke, where can the fine folks not find you at?
Don't worry, they won't find me. I'll find them.
Sounds about right.
That sounds about right.
Very Liam Neeson-like.
Duke is still in the basement.
He is still in the basement. I have not, unshackled
my basement now.
Of course, you can find me at Twitter as well as here on YouTube at iDizzy81, as well as on Xbox. Save with the gamer tag iDizzy81. Once again, I do thank everybody for tuning in, and we will catch y'all next time. Peace.